Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. And on the program today, our guest is joining us via Zoom. And we'll be taking a look at the state of the nation. So many issues currently going on, from politics to insecurity to the economy. As time will permit, we will take as much as we can on the program today. He is a friend of the house, is a communication strategist and also a broadcaster like us here in the studio. Join us this morning as we welcome Charles Ideho. Charles, thank you for being here on the program today.
Thank you. I'm quite excited to be here today to also contribute to nation building. I mean, we have a responsibility to do that. We've been information manager, so thank you for taking that time to have me this morning. Thank you.
Okay, let's start this way. The last time you were here in the studio, it was all about the Edo politics, and Delta is not far away from Edo. So let's I mean, you are neighbors. Can you share your thoughts on what is currently going on with the defection of big wigs from the PDP to the APC in Delta State?
Okay, but back in, we used to be called BEN there, BEM from Benin region and DF from Delta. So we regard them as our younger brother, the other half of us.
Okay.
So, well, what is happening now, I think it must have taken a lot of people by surprise, but not me, because even on a radio program or a TV, I can't recall this TV program or radio program earlier in the year when I made a forecast, I made a prediction that the defection of the governor of the state, Sheriff Oborowori, was just a matter of time. So they said, why was I so sure? Well, I said, I watch the body language of people. I saw the communication. I understand when some people when they speak. I used text linguistics to analyze what they are saying and also to be able to determine where they might be headed. So I said it that time. I think it was around February. I can't recall, when Oborowori suddenly just started praising Tinubu's government to high heavens. And this is a governor that was giving collective mandate of the PDP, and he was praising the government of a party that is supposed to be an opposition to them. So I said, well, I was seeing a handwriting on the wall that was just a matter of time before the governor would move. But the one that indeed surprised me is that of Governor Ifeanyi Okowa. Okowa, of course, he did 8 years, which is 2 terms consecutively in Delta State.
Delta State.
And he also became the vice presidential candidate to Atiku when he ran a joint ticket in 2023. Yeah, exactly. So he was indeed the one that surprised me, because you can't get to such a lofty high in the party machinery, party structure, and then you are easily cowed to dump your house, in a manner of speaking, and jump ship to another party. So what would you be looking for? So that Oborowori didn't surprise me, as I said earlier, but it was Okowa indeed that pulled the wool over my face, because I never thought Okowa would be doing it. But again, we're hearing stories here and there. We heard about the hands of James Ibori. Well, they were trying to see how to rehabilitate Okowa. He is facing EFCC charges, and they are thinking that if he goes to the center, then he's seeing my pardon, Allah Oshomole. Somebody, is there. Somebody said, once you move from the umbrella and you are now clutching the broom, then your sins will be forgiven. So Ibori, very close to Asiwaju, because they were all of them were first-time governors. When we just came into this dispensation, 2027, they were both what we call they were classmates, classmates in that manner. So they're still very close. So, Bori also want to secure his, want to firm up his closeness to the center, and then he decided to bring the big wigs over there. And the only person who is there now in the opposition is Great Oboru. Group Oboru. We didn't know whether how big the carrot would be. They would dangle his face to also make him join his brothers and sisters that have decided to jump the PDP ship and then move over to the APC ship.
Okay, so what's the implication of these political realignments, defection for the 2027 elections, and of course the chances of the APC as they look forward to the next election in 2027?
Well, the APC, the chances are becoming stronger by the day because, politics is a game of numbers. And as many people, relevant people, you are able to muzzle, in a manner of speaking, into your camp. And then they're also going to be bringing in importation, political importation. They're going to be importing their goodwill, importing their structures, and importing those people who they think they can use to get the numbers that will secure a victory for them. So if you look at it, most of the people that are coming in, they are coming in. For instance, Delta State, we're still talking about a case in point. We understand that it's the whole political structure, right from the ward level up to the state level, that have been collapsed now into the APC structure. So if you look at the admixture of the APC and PDP structure in Delta State, then we might begin to look at that. They're going to be having strength to take to the polls. Okay, so that's whether you like it or not, it might work for them. But what I fear, I don't know if I can preempt that question. What I fear is the likely implosion that may happen, because when you have too many strange bedfellows in a house, there will be clashes of interest. There will be clashes of supremacy. There will be clashes of all manner of things that are improper within the house, and there might be an implosion if the party structure of APC is not able to govern and to also put their foot down to ensure they rope everybody or rein everybody in the course of time.
Right. What you just preempted, some others also mentioned that yesterday, but as we are still talking about politics, and there is this permutation that the race towards 2027 has also started. And for you, as much as the political parties, some are jumping ship to APC, we expect that in days to come, some others will also find comfort in jumping ship to other political parties, especially the SDP. But for you, the issue of ideology seems to be lost in almost all the political parties as we speak. How do we begin to galvanize support back to the basis of ideology, or do we just assume that it's going to be business as usual and issues around ideology is as good as dead in party politics in Nigeria?
Well, ideology is a very interesting and it's also an important ingredient in what you use to cook the political soup, if you permit that. But we lost it in 1999 because we're harangued, in a manner of speaking, if you accept that word, by the military, because we wanted to chase them out back to the barracks, and then I'm sure you were old enough to understand that they all rushed out and then left the scene for the politicians. So at that time, it was pretty difficult for people to align to form ideology. And then I'm also made to understand that I think Bola Ige and a couple of others were the ones that basically wrote the manifestos of all the parties. So that's why when people rushed into parties without even, because we wanted the military out at all costs so that they can leave us alone, we can run this country by ourselves. So people had no ample time for them to begin to align to say, okay, this is where my limits are. This is what I think my projections will be for my people, for myself, my belief system, what I think will work. So people had no time to think about that too. They were just jumping into all manner of parties. You had ADS at that time, Alliance for Democracy, of course, which had its own enclave here in the Southwest. You had the PDP, which of course they were touted to be the biggest party in Africa. And then you had the ANPP, which was very strong in the northwest. No, exactly. Then you had the APGA, very strong in the southeast. So you had parties that gravitated more to regional sentiments, rather than ideologies. Okay, you had, because of the Ojukwu sentiment, you had everybody, if you wanted to be regarded as a true Igbo, Then you had to queue behind all of them in Afghan. If you love the Omoluabi politics, you had to be part of the AG, Alliance for Democracy, then all of them. So that's exactly what happened. So there was no time for them to actually come up and draw up what is known as political ideology.
Okay.
I benefited, I've always said, maybe I said it on some of your show, during the UPN, the NPN, I was very little that time, was secondary school. You had clear-cut ideologies.
Right.
I mean, you had the unity part of Nigeria, we had clear-cut. It had at the center of its ideology was human capital development, which of course was anchored on education, free education. You had that. The NPN said, okay, their own is a green revolution or operation nation, whatever you call it. They were for agriculture. They wanted to recreate the Granite pyramid of the days of yore. You had the one for Zeke, you talked about. So you had all those ones. It was almost impossible as at that time for a Bola Ige to want to cross to NPN.
Right.
It was difficult at that time for Ari to want to cross to UPN. So you had a clear-cut ideologies that the lines were properly delineated. But today now you have all of them. You hardly see a difference from the other. The difference you find in one is the same in the other.
It's the same in the other.
Okay, Charles. Do you agree with those who are saying that we are beginning to tilt towards a one-party state? If your answer is yes, what are the implications of these for our democracy? Good.
One-party state, there are demerits and there are merits. So let me look at the demerit. The demerits, we can use one or two examples where one-party state is working in terms of development. Because one-party state, whether I like it or not, one-party state, it gives room to what they call, I think is to tyranny. Yeah, tyranny. You want tyranny of one man. Having your life is at the behead of everybody. So you see a one man or a one party that look at in China. China, they have a benevolent dictator, all right, but it's working in development. China has moved beyond the whole of us. Now, one party state is also coming into, it's also in Africa. When you look at Rwanda, Kagame has been there for, since the pogrom that happened in 1994.
Right.
But are they developing the answer? Yeah, but
yes,
they are Muslim opposition. You can hardly get up. But the question is that in Nigeria, where you have multiplicity of ethnicity, multiplicity of religion, multiplicity of regions, can we afford where one man will stand? If the man is a Muslim, for instance, he may pander to the wishes of Islam. If he's a Christian, he may pander to the wishes of Christianity. Right. If he's a Yoruba, would he not be running a Yorubanization of the whole thing if it's Hausa and Fulani? So that's the problem. There are, as I said, I've already talked about the demerit. We are going to be tilting towards the dictatorship, but on the other way, if we have a benevolent dictator, then it might work for us. But in Nigeria, I would like to have somebody who's benevolent to the needs of everybody in Nigeria, but the question is a rhetorical question.
It is a rhetorical question. Right, let's leave politics now and quickly go into security. That also is beginning to rear its ugly head again. And if we take a cue from what's going on in Benue, Plateau, and other places across Nigeria, it looks like, whether or not the security chiefs are doing what they should be doing, or there is some form of retrogression here, even though the president has again given a marching order to the service chiefs that you must do better. What exactly do you think is going on? Or do you think that at some point in time we went to sleep and then these guys again took advantage of the country?
Okay, what is happening now is very regrettable, but I think we allowed it to fester for too long, for so long. And if you allow anything, for instance, if you allow a malignant disease or something to fester for too long, you now be seeking curative measures rather than ensuring that you nip it in the bud. That's exactly where we are. We allowed it to fester for too long. Then Buhari came, spent 8 years and destroyed the whole thing, and then giving this visa at entry or something, which allowed his brothers and sisters, Fulani ethnic stock, to come into Nigeria. If you look at it, what is happening today is expansionism. expansionism in order to give the Fulani, a base in Nigeria. I mean, I'm relying on this because Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi State, came out a couple of weeks back to say that all Fulanis, wherever they may be, are Nigerians. And because they are itinerant by nature, that they seek to have a homeland. And they're going to create a homeland for the whole of Fulani in Nigeria so that they will curtail all this itinerarism, if you like it. So where will you give them? Because there's no certain home you can say this is the home of
grazing land.
Exactly. So, and they have been schooled to tell them that at the independence, God used, listen to this, God used the British to give them Nigeria. Nigeria belongs to them. It is a gift to the Fulanis. Amadou Bello, I can't remember who says, no, Madame Podi also said that they will not rest until they have dipped the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean. Do you know what? Look at the allegory. Look at the imagery. They should not rest until they have dipped the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean. This is not about Islam. It's not about Islam at all. I mean, we have Islam in Yoruba land. We don't have problem. Right. Christians and Yoruba they don't have a problem. But it has to do about an ethnic group that is hell bent on usurping what they think has been given to them. They think that when you heard the other time the incident that happened in Uromi.
Right.
These people left Kano, the northernmost part of Nigeria, and went all the way to Elele. Elele is in the southernmost part of Nigeria in River State to go and hunt. They said they went to hunt in the bushes and forests of another state. Now we know we have freedom of movement, but is it not required that when you visit a place like that bearing arms, you are supposed to go to local government to go report that we are here.
Right.
Exactly. But they didn't do that. They went over there and then they were moving and then bearing arms and all that. Because they feel that there's a case. I happen to be the global president of my town union. Yesterday we had a meeting, a virtual meeting, when there's a problem in my hometown in Onga is right now. My hometown, not even the whole local government, where Fulani entered, they took cows into a young boy's farm. He said he took loan from a microfinance bank to set up a cassava farm. Then they went in there and they were eating the OT. And then when he accosted them, the thing turned to a fracas. Before you know it, a gun was shot. Somebody lay on ground. So they've been arrested. They've taken to Benin City now to whatever. And we are setting that case. Not only that, there's also an accusation. This may sound maybe funny, that the Fulani young man has impregnated a girl in my town. Yeah, that's exactly where we are.
Wow.
So
No.
I'm telling you. So they have this belief that Nigeria was given to them. It is their birthright. So anywhere they find themselves is their land. They have no boundaries. So when you also go to Benue State, in terms of forest resources, they are the richest. I've been to Benue. They have 23 local governments. I've said about 14 of them.
The food basket.
The richest. Exactly. So, and these are pastoralists. And then Benue provides a very robust platform for them. So because they believe that all land in Nigeria is for them. So they can go anywhere, eat anything, eat any crop. After all, it was given to them by Allah and their father.
But Charles,
that's exactly where we are.
Is it just the Fulanis? Is this peculiar to just the Fulani herdsmen? Because we've also heard stories of people who impersonate the identity or the dressing or the formalities of the Fulani herdsmen in perpetrating such heinous acts.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because the thing is that something has to start. And then people will now jump into the fray. Now, the Fulani, not all the Fulani, because I know a couple of Fulani people who I think they are well cultured and well mannered. But we're talking about the ones that are the unscrupulous, the herdsmen around them who are bearing us and not bearing us. Now, when something has festered for too long, then there is this tendency that it becomes, people will now look at it. I mean, they say, okay, why don't we jump on it? And you know that if there's a brand that is selling well, everybody will jump on it,
Right.
and then begin to market that brand, even though it's not the original brand. That's exactly what. Even when kidnapping came, they said, okay, it was the Niger Delta boys that were doing it. But Niger Delta boys, they've been out of it for a long time. But other people now, they took over from it. So if you also go to the Southeast, anybody causing mayhem over there now, they will pin it on the ECN or the IPOB. It's the same way we are having all this one.
Okay.
If something wasn't started by someone or a group, other people don't jump on it. That's why if you want to do it, settle the matter, let the Fulani people on their own, all the well-meaning Fulani people that are not doing it, let them come out. I always respect the Yoruba nation. I respect them for one. They always have this, they tend towards that unity. When Sunday Igboho stood up here in the Southwest, Sunday Igboho was in the news almost every day. And there was a problem. All the Yoruba leaders, the monarchs, they even went to I think the Ajase kingdom across the border. They all came together, formed a coalition, and they resolved the matter. Right. Today, where is Igboho? Igboho is no longer in the mood. So they also, just like what Yoruba counterparts have done, the leaders, they also have a responsibility to claim their names, right, and paste it with something that is proper. That's exactly my point of view.
Okay. All right, Charles. We have mentioned politics, of course, insecurity by Abimbola. When you look at the mood and the body language of those governing us, starting from Mr. President, ministers, and governors, are they really, really concerned about the plight of the people and the mood of the nation? The economy is not so good. The purchasing power of Nigerians is dwindling. And insecurity in Benue, Plateau State, and some other parts. Even though Mr. President met with security chiefs immediately after his trip abroad, saying that enough is enough. Do you think they are really concerned from their body language?
Well, I don't want to run into trouble because I'm close to people who are close to some governors. even in Lagos State, I'm close to some people who are close. But jokes apart, they would tell you they are indeed feeling. But again, I don't envy. I actually sympathize. Is it sympathize or empathize? I think let me choose empathy. I actually empathize with the governors because on paper we are told they are the chief security officers of their respective states, but in practice they are not. In practice, they are not. They are just because even on there's a program that I'm part of. It's where journalists gather every day. I'm part of that. I've argued this almost every time that I see them as more as chief executive of their respective state, not chief security. Why do I say so? Yeah, if anything happens in Oyo State, can Seyi Makinde command the second division commander in Oyo State? The answer is no. Even if it does that, the GOC of 2 deep in Oyo State will have a recourse to the center, Abuja. Abuja has to give him clearance. Then, if Makinde, for instance, they give maybe all the police commissioner have to go to Ebetokun. They will weigh it. Is he our man? Is he with us against us? If it's with us, yeah, there might be an expedited action. But if it's against you, if it's against the center, they will wait. So everything is tied around politics, which is why most of these governors, they are now going to join with the center. So we are back there again. So if anything happens in any state, they weigh the options. Is he with us? Is he amongst us? Okay, if it's okay, let's do something about it and not that. That's exactly what is happening. If the governors had a measure, maybe a modicum level of control over the security apparatus in their state, they may be able to do more. Because after all, they are giving something, what they call security force every time. Okay. So what I think is that the over centralization of the command structure of security architecture is not also helping this country. We must find a way to solution, even if we don't do state policing, but we must find a way. If it's on regional basis, I think that should be good for us, rather than tie us, all of us who are bound to the Philistines back in Abuja over there.
Okay, I was just going to ask you what you mentioned, what you closed with, once you brought up the issue of over-centralization, and to ask whether or not the quest for the creation of state police will be the right way to go, which you've mentioned here. But you've also said even if we do not go that route, perhaps we could begin to go into regionalization of some of these issues. But then let's tie that quickly also with the tweaking of the Constitution, which many have also said could also be a bane why we are where we are today. Do you think really that will help take Nigeria away from this crossroad at the moment if the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria were to be tweaked or tinkered with?
Well, that argument has also come a couple of times. Well, of course, in several fora where I also have to lend my voice. It's also coming up today. I personally do not have much problem with our constitution the way it is now. I've gone through it randomly. No matter how much you tweak, no matter how much you tinker, no matter how much you do what you call when you say, okay, amend the constitution, the letters are there,
right?
Explicitly stated, and they are written in black and white and also in English language, plain language. But the problem we have is the drivers of the constitution is the problem. It's not the constitution, it's not the law, but the actors, the state actors, the non-state actors. Now, it's in the law, when Supreme Court gives a pronouncement, the drivers, people will look at it, how it favors them. Look at the case in point, the issue of Abure, the Labour Party. The Supreme Court has given his judgment. Oh, okay, the status quo they mentioned favors me. No, it favors you. People are looking for English grammar. Is it, how do we define status quo? Where the pendulum swings. Look at the case of the River State, the 23, I mean, 20, I mean of them, the State Assembly and all that.
27.
Oh, the Supreme Court said this and that. They were having problems again, analyzing where to be. Oh, okay, we can't do it now. We are still waiting for the certified true copy, CTC. So it is the driver of the constitution that is the problem. Then the police themselves are taking sides. Everywhere you go to, in America, all of them will.
Okay, I think we seem to have some, and we're just waiting for Charles to actually wrap up his thoughts on that question before we allowed him, to go on the program. But I think the connection for now, is it still there? Okay, Charles.
I'm here.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Wrap up your thoughts.
Okay, I was saying that, okay, the other day, a case in point, the president, what were the senators singing? On your mandate, we shall stand. Can you imagine that? The legislative body that is supposed to be a check, they were applauding. So it seems as if there's a convenient marriage between. Can I end it like that?
Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. I mean, there are some times that you really don't need to say more than what you've said. So, point well taken. Thank you so much, Charles Ideho, for finding time to be with us on the program today. We appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, of course,
thanks for the privilege.
Speaking with Charles Ideho, a broadcaster and communication strategist, and he's helped us to take a look at certain issues on the state of the nation. Ajibola.
Abimbola, the takeaway for me today is what Charles said, saying that the marriage between the lawmakers and the executive. When the two are together, where lies the interest of the people? Where lies the checks and the balances which the lawmakers ought to provide to serve as check to the executive? Because now that they're together and everybody is moving in droves to APC, then we can as well say there's no opposition, there are no checks. Just have your way.
Certain things happen and then you look at it and you're wondering, what exactly is going on. But again, I'm sure we're not all babies. Everybody can see their handwritings on the wall and everybody can see what is going on. But we just do hope that, in their in their inner caucuses where they are and there's nobody there, they can actually tell themselves the truth. Because like, you know, they would always say that when two or three friends come together and they are smiling, then you haven't given yourself the gospel truth. But if you come out and one person is, you know, already facing here, you know that, okay, something has happened there. Because we cannot continue to act like nothing is happening or we're not accountable to anybody. At least if you think you're not accountable to anybody, you're accountable to God. And posterity will judge you. So,
do politicians think about posterity or God? They don't.
So here's the thing, Jibal, I think they do. They may not show it, but they do. When there's nobody there with them, they do. They always remember that there's somebody somewhere seeing all that is going on, and you will get served your pound of flesh.
Definitely.
One way or the other. And, you know, sometimes there's a way you also just amass trouble for your children or your generation. So
that is deep. And I hope what we have said here today will prick the conscience of those governing us, the political class, and of course, push them to do the needful for the people. People are suffering, whether we like it or not. The economy is bad and people are barely surviving. And when you push people to the wall, and they cannot enter the wall again, Abimbola, they will look back.
They will revolt. Okay, I just hope we will not get pushed to that wall where you just want to fight back against all odds. Well, thank you so much to everyone who's watched us today. Unfortunately, we will be unable to beam live what we, the press conference we had told you earlier about has been postponed due to another state function. Hopefully, those scheduled for tomorrow will still come on as usual. But we'll leave you now, and by the grace of God, 10 a.m. tomorrow will be another time to join the team on the conversation. I am Abimbola Bello.
And I am Ajibola Ojoshola. Enjoy the rest of your day.